you're listening, there's some interesting things that you're going to want to listen to because I would say they would apply in almost every area of business.
You have to try and remove as much of that nuance as possible, and then you have to accept you're never going to get it like a one-on-one service.
Let's talk about the beginning days of Fat Joe and kind of catch us up on the first couple of years.
So Fat Joe was 2012. Me and my business partner were working at a SEO agency, and we were struggling to find a good provider of backlinks. We left the job at the agency, and the agency became our first client.
Where's the business at now, right? You started in 2012. It's 2025, we're doing this interview. You've been around for a long time.
Well, yeah, we're doing around 12 million revenue per year.
How you can fulfill $12 million worth of orders with a team of 15.
Outsourcing is no different to in-house. It's just a lot more scalable, a lot more flexible.
Anything else that has helped with growth? Again, just trying to speak to people listening and giving them ideas for things to try.
We used to try and measure every penny that we spend and attribute it to, a sale or to some kind of ROI.
All right, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman, and today we're joined by Joe Davies with fatjoe.com. Joe, welcome.
Hi, Jared. How you doing?
Hey, it's great to have you. I was telling you before we hit record, I feel like I've known you forever. I feel like when I started in this industry almost a decade ago, I knew about your agency and whatnot. We get to hear the story today and probably a lot of the steps you took along the way to grow it. I think it's going to be interesting for people because there's a lot of things you've pivoted on over the years. I can just see in our back and forth. And so it's going to be really fun. Tell me about yourself a little bit before we get into the meat and potatoes here of the interview.
Okay, yeah. So I've been in SEO since 2006, something like that. So a very long time. I got into it completely by accident. I think like a lot of people back in those times. I was basically working at a vending machine company, and they asked me to do a website. Got into SEO, and then before you know it, job after job, worked in a few agencies, and then ended up at the Fat Joe point, which I guess we'll get into more detail. But yeah, kind of been a bit of a veteran in SEO over the years.
2006, that makes you like OG, old school. You've been through so much in SEO. Yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point, if you've been around since, even just the last 5 years, you've experienced a lifetime's worth of changes. But 2006, that's a good point. When did you start Fat Joe?
So Fat Joe was 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have about 6 years of experience. I mean, we're going to get into a lot of the details there. And I know that there's some interesting things that if you're listening, you don't run an agency, you're going to want to listen to because I would say they would apply in almost every area of business, even just, a different vertical. But let's talk about the beginning days of Fat Joe and kind of catch us up on the first couple of years. And, I guess, why did you decide to start it? How did it do in the first couple of years? Any hurdles or anything that you had to overcome in those first few years?
Yeah, so me and my business partner were working at a SEO agency, and we were struggling to find a good provider of backlinks and a good provider of content, anything that was deliverables based, so things that the clients needed on an ongoing basis. We didn't want to hire in-house because we didn't want a big team of in-house link builders, big team of in-house content writers. So we were looking for providers. We were looking on Upwork, Fiverr. We were trying to work with freelancers on forums, that kind of thing. But we were getting such inconsistent results. Some freelancers were good and then they'd go missing. We were trying different vendors, but their quality wasn't as good. So we just thought there's room in the market here for a really good, premium, consistent vendor who can deliver really good backlinks, really good content, whenever anyone needs it, with really good customer support, really easy ordering system, really good reporting. So we decided to create that while we were working at the SEO agency. And once we got enough clients, we left the job at the agency, and the agency became our first client. So it was a nice kind of transition there.
The early days of starting a company are oftentimes very challenging. I mean, you had a client going in, which is great. It sounds like you had a nice, I don't call it break, but you had a nice little kind of exit from your job there to starting the agency. What were like the big hurdles, I guess, in the first couple of years to you guys getting off the ground? How quick was the growth?
So we were really lucky because I think we found a niche, or we found a really big need in the market. There were a lot of agencies who had the same kind of problem as us. And we only had to put a message on a couple of forums. Back in the day, forums were really big for SEO. We put a couple of messages out saying, look, we're offering this. We started ranking for some really niche keywords like UK link building, because when we first started, we were UK only, which I think helped us because we really cornered a part of the market that no one else was even bothering with. So I think some of the hurdles were basically to do with growing pains. So we were getting way more clients than we could handle.
Yeah.
So we were struggling to fulfill those orders. We were working off spreadsheets, and really, these spreadsheets were getting so big, they were so slow to load. So I think some of the growing pains were we should have started thinking about software to run the business from month 3, 4. We should have got out those spreadsheets, but we stayed in them too long. And by year 2, I think we started developing our own software, which made it really easy to deliver the orders.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. So you probably know the importance of building internal links so your site can perform well in Google. Today I want to share how Link Whisper can help you add outbound internal links to your articles. As you draft your article in WordPress, Link Whisper scans your site, identifying the best internal link opportunities. It then recommends the perfect anchor text and link to add. With just a click, your content is updated with new internal links. No more expensive tools or tedious manual site searches. Link Whisper does the heavy lifting right inside the WordPress editor. Say goodbye to the hassle of internal linking. With Link Whisper, you can focus on what you do best, creating great content. Use the coupon code podcast today and get $15 off. Elevate your website's internal linking with Link Whisper now. Building smart internal links just got easier. Go to linkwhisper.com today and be sure to use coupon code podcast to get $15 off.
It's a bit ironic, right? Because you're at an agency and you're looking to outsource. You're looking to outsource your link building. You're looking to not bring a team on. You're looking to not have people. And that, in a weird way, ends up driving you to start an agency that has to actually fulfill that exact service.
Yeah.
Like initially, how were you guys doing that? Initially, were you working with a team of people and trying to kind of bridge that gap or pulling it in-house if you were?
Yeah. So yeah, it is ironic. And that is definitely the word for it. When we started, we were trying to scramble together a team in-house to kind of deliver the link building content. We actually hired a couple of people in-house doing content, someone doing outreach into bloggers. And then we did realize the irony of it, because we was thinking, why aren't we outsourcing this? And that's when we kind of developed a really good system for outsourcing content, outsourcing the outreach to bloggers. We eventually built up a roster of around 100 writers we had at one point. They were all working full-time for us, doing pieces for link building. So, we definitely practice what we preach now. Like we outsource almost everything. We keep a very core team. People associate outsourcing with like bad quality or lack of control. But I think if you define your criteria and you've got a really good system for what it is exactly you want in your deliverable, outsourcing is no different to in-house. It's just a lot more scalable, a lot more flexible, and you can grow your business a lot faster.
There's kind of two sides I really want to tackle with you specifically. It's internally how you're doing that. You hit the nail on the head. Like, I think a lot of people who are listening are going to be thinking about their business and thinking, there's something I could be outsourcing. There's something I could do to grow my business if I wasn't trying to do it myself. But if I outsource it, I lose control, I get lower quality, and then that pulls away from my value proposition or what I'm able to do. So I want to get into that. Then I also want to get into on the front end, how you structure your agency to be what I know you've called productized. I've heard you talk about that on Twitter. And I know it's a big thing about what your agency offers. If you just go look at, your website, and it's kind of the power in that, because I think a lot of people maybe wonder about simplifying their business to that point. And again, you don't have to be running an agency to get value out of that, because if you're running an e-commerce store, if you're running a SaaS business, I can just think of so many areas that this concept applies. So before we tackle both those, one thing I always like to do is ask you, where's the business at now, right? You started in 2012. It's 2025. We're doing this interview. You've been around for a long time. Like, tell us maybe some key metrics or just anything you're comfortable sharing so people get an idea of the scope of what you guys are doing, and then we'll get into some of these details.
Yeah, so we're doing very well. I want us to do better, obviously. But yeah, we're doing around 12 million revenue per year. We are growing, but we have been we've been at the 10 to 12 mark since the pandemic. But we are really trying to grow now, really trying to expand our reach. We are targeting America a lot, but we think we've got so much more to go with America. Because we're not based there, I think we've got a little bit of a disadvantage, but I think now we started hiring from there. I think we're going to do a lot more expos there, get the word out, that we are going to power agencies and supply them with good backlinks, good content. But yeah, that's the state we're in at the minute. We've got about 15 people in the team, in the core team, and that's made up of marketing, development, admin, support.
Congrats, man. That's a huge number right there, especially with a team that's not like hundreds of people, right? You can hear 12 million and then you can hear 100 people on the team. But when you hear 12 million, you hear the things you guys are doing, and then you hear kind of a small team size. So that's good, because that'll really feed a lot of what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about internally kind of how you've built out this outsourcing model. And I'm not calling it that. I'm not saying that's how you call it, but I'm just calling it that for the sake of getting this started. Like, how you can fulfill $12 million worth of orders with a team of 15, and maybe if we can use that to start getting into how you manage all that.
Yeah, so it's a pretty long process, but it all starts with obviously what you're offering, what the service is, and as you said, we do productize our services. So every service is really a component, if you like. So we don't sell SEO service; we sell link building or content or business citations. We sell them by the component, of that, whatever the customer's trying to do. They want a link, they buy a link. They want 100 links, they buy 100 links. They want a piece of content, they buy a piece of content. But with every deliverable, there is a set of inputs that we need. So we get this from the customer with an online form. This is all like a custom system, but there's plenty of software out there these days which do this for agencies. There's one called Service Provider Pro. There's a few other competitors, but Service Provider Pro is the biggest one. And basically, you set up your form with the inputs, you get the variables from the customer. So, for example, a piece of content, you want to know the length of the content, you want to know the topic they want, you want to know, do they want it from a standard writer or a pro writer? Do they want images, yes or no? Do they want internal links, yes or no? What you're doing is building this kind of like a quotation, so that they're putting out everything they want, and then at the end, the quantity, and then it goes into the system. And it's just like they bought something from a shop. It's just like they bought an iPhone, and they've spec'd up an iPhone, they've got their iPhone. The difference is with a service, obviously, there's a latency involved, so it might take 2 weeks or a month to get the deliverable back. And yeah, so once we've got those inputs, we can then decentralize. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. We can decentralize how that is delivered, because we've got very specific criteria. Now, if we've got a pool of writers, for example, for this content example, we've got a pool of writers and they've all been onboarded and trained in the same way, we can distribute these jobs across all the writers. We haven't got a bottleneck. We haven't got someone in the middle who has to divvy these jobs out. We've got a system that does this. So we can take on 1 million orders tomorrow if we wanted to. We just need to add more writers in the system and onboard them the right way. The system will give each writer a job, and it will give the criteria, and they deliver it to spec. Now, that's really simple with things like content writing, even things like link building. Link building touches a few more people. It touches someone to go out and outreach to the website. Then it has to go to a writer to write the piece of content, goes back to the website, then the website uploads the finished post. A few more people, but with a system, it's very systematic. It's very easy to do once it's set up. So the answer is, once you break your service down into these inputs and variables, and you really make it hard for it to be ambiguous, the customer orders X with these upgrades or whatever, and if you deliver on that, there should be no back and forth. There should be no questions. It should be, oh, I ordered that and I got it. So that's the way we've been able to scale it so big, because we can take on as many orders as we want. We just need to have people in the system that can deliver to these specifications. I hope that makes sense. It's hard to articulate it, but
it does makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yes.
I think the big thing is you have to understand how to break your service down into as many necessary pieces as possible. Otherwise, it becomes ambiguous to fulfill.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's dive into that a little bit more. I think one of the biggest challenges a lot of people have with breaking something down that they do, and this could be an internal process, and they want to have different team members fulfill that. It's nuance, right? And so, you have a roofing customer who buys an article versus, I'll go to my previous background, a photographer who buys an article, right? And a roofer, a photographer, like they're going to bring so many different components to the table of what they need. How do you manage at scale the different nuances? And that's just one example. I mean, it could be in terms of backlinks. It could be the type of backlinks. It could be the nuances of judging whether it's a backlink that is worth going after or not worth going after. If it's worth providing to a customer, it's not. The nuance, you talked about hitting spec and the nuance involved in spec.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but you have to try and remove as much of that nuance as possible, and then you have to accept that you're never going to get it like a one-on-one service. Like I always liken it to McDonald's and a Michelin star restaurant. You go to McDonald's, you can't go in there and say, hey, can I have a beef roast, or can I have a toad in the hole, or they're just going to say, no, we only do this, or this. You can customize it, but that's it. You might be able to go to a really high-end restaurant and ask for something really custom, but you're paying a lot more for that. You're getting this really custom service. So I think with scale, there is a cost, and the cost is that personalization. You can get it really, really to a point where it's unnoticeable. I think with our service, especially stuff where it's less subjective, content can be a little bit subjective, but as long as the writer does all the research, as long as the writer does, extensive amount of research before he writes, it doesn't matter that if he's writing about makeup or tractors or photography, he should be able to write it. We don't need the experts in there. We don't need to go to a particular writer. If the client did want that, we're probably not the right kind of service for them. But for the most part, we try and tick all the boxes with that. So I think the key is about removing as much nuance as you can, but also accepting that if you do want to scale, sometimes the cost of that scale is that little bit of 20% personalization.
You talked about maybe not being the right fit, and I think that's interesting to talk about as well. So how do you, I think a lot of people when they come into business, they want to be able to be a good fit for everyone who's interested in their service. Yeah. And I'm sure a part of scale, correct me if I'm wrong, involves saying no and kind of figuring out what you stand for and what you stand against, and then being clear about that. I heard you kind of address it, but maybe go a little bit more into depth on it. And what was the process to figure that out? Did you know that going in because that's just something that you always kind of understood in business and you had learned that along the way, or is that something you guys developed as you grew Fat Joe and had to kind of learn that the hard way?
We developed it. I think it takes a little bit of confidence. You have to kind of build that confidence because, like you say, at the start of business, you want to serve everyone because you want to make money, right? You don't want to say no to people. And if someone come in and asks for an article about cheese, but they want 20 pictures on it instead of one, we say, yeah, okay. Someone comes in, they ask for a link with trust flow of 5, but they want a Moz spam score of less than 2, whatever weird metrics they've got in their own internal system. We'll go, yeah, we'll try it. And we made a few mistakes in the beginning where we was accepting, yeah, we'll do that, we'll try that, we'll try that, we'll try that. And I think what that does is it slows you down because you shouldn't be taking order, like in our model, this doesn't work for every business model, but particularly for our model and productized model, you shouldn't be letting customers come to you with requests. You should be going to them with solutions. You should be going to them, here's our solution, buy it, yes or no. It's binary. And I think saying no to any other requests is key. We have people ring up all the time and email all the time, say, hey, we don't work with Ahrefs DR, we work with SEMrush AS, or we look at traffic, we don't look at domain ratings. And we just say, look, this is what we do and this is how we sell it. If you don't, if you don't like that, you need to go to a different custom provider or a different provider that will do that. This is what we do. Because the cost of us doing business with someone, one person custom, is way bigger than serving, the hundreds of people that will just accept what we offer.
Yeah.
So I think it is key to say no. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good. Let's move into the service side, the front end side of your business, what you offer. Let's talk about, productization, and you've talked about it already. When did you land on that as the right business model going forward? It sounds like you've already touched on it. Like, hey, there's a lot that goes into that. We already hit upon, but why is it, such a big deal for your agency? Why is it unlocked so much for you guys growing and going forward?
So I don't think we were actually thinking about it when we started. We kind of accidentally developed these systems and these ways of processing orders, and we were just we accidentally just realised, oh, this is way better than doing back and forth with clients or taking custom orders. It's just way better to say what we offer, the service with the set inputs, and deliver on it. We just realised we could scale a lot faster by doing that. We now look at it and think we wouldn't do business any other way. I look at other business like, for example, speaking to a cleaner who cleans houses and offices, and they go around and price it up and quote it based on square meters and if they want the windows cleaning or not, that kind of thing. And I just think that even a cleaning business could be productized. You could have a form on a website. How many rooms? Do you want this? Yes, no, and then just press book. So I look every day at every business and think it could be productized. You could, in some way, make it streamlined. And I think even if you don't do it on the front end, you could do it on the back end in some way. So you could profile customers or different types of orders and then run a process based on that order. So yeah, it's become more of an important thing these days, but we didn't know what the word productization meant when we started. It kind of developed itself.
Hey, Jared here. Just a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get right back to the episode. If you want to see one of Niche Site Lady's websites, she has a little case study going on. The site is called veganwins.co.uk, and she's sharing everything she's doing with it publicly. The site was built for her by Web Asset Builders, and you can get one done for yourself as well. These social-first niche websites are designed to capture the attention of people on Facebook, complete with engaging content, visuals, and even newsletter lead magnets. Check out webassetbuilders.com if you'd like to learn more. They even have installment payment options available. You can use coupon code NICHEPURSUITS on checkout to get 20% off all offers. Again, that's webassetbuilders.com. Coupon code NICHEPURSUITS, all one word, for 20% off. All right, now back to the episode. Have you seen more value from productization internally or externally? Meaning, has it been more of a game changer in that it simplified the process for who you target, what the client can order, what you go after, or is the bigger win internally? You have a clear set of what a client can order. You have a clear set of standards and SOPs for what needs to be delivered, and you can scale that way. It's probably both, but I'm just trying to understand which side of it has been even a bigger game changer than the other.
Yeah, like you say, it is both, but I think the most benefit is from internally, from the operations side of it. Just because as long as it's easy to order for the customer, they probably don't care if it's productized or not. They're not even thinking about it in that way. They're just looking at it going, I want this, go. The same way as if they're buying an iPhone. An iPhone's productized because by its definition, it's a product. That's the way I like to think about services. They should be sold like products. They should have this defined outcome, this defined timeline, these options. But yeah, I do think operationally, like running the business, it's a dream really, because the service-based business, sometimes if you're doing custom orders and you're doing things ad hoc, you can't really project out the future. You can't project out your margins, your profits, because you don't know what you're going to be doing in the next year or so. You don't know what staff you need. Whereas with a productized business, you know that if you sell 10, it's going to cost you 50% of that. You can project the margins very easily. So, yeah, operationally, it's good.
It's good. Who's your target market? Who are you finding is most often ordering from you? And has that always been the case, or has that adjusted over the years?
Yeah, so when we started, we did the whole scratch your own itch thing. So we were an SEO agency, and we targeted SEO agencies because we knew the market, we knew what they wanted, we knew their pain points, and we've kind of kept that along the way. We don't stop brands from ordering, we don't stop end users, we don't stop SEOs in the bedroom running affiliate sites ordering. But what we found is agencies are a lot better customer because they bring with them, if you sign on one agency, you've signed 20 customers because they've got their clients. So if you sign on an affiliate in the bedroom, you've just got their one website. So with agencies, you get a bigger order value, a bigger lifetime value. But also our service has been set up from day one that we don't do any consulting. So we're just the middleman. Basically, we don't give advice on strategy. We don't give advice on SEO, what keywords you should target. Our whole thing is you are the experts. You use us to deliver your campaigns. That's kind of the angle we've gone at. And that's really good for scale as well, because it means we don't have to have phone calls, meetings, strategy sessions. We don't have to be so accountable for everything. We're just delivering what we say we're going to deliver.
What are the needs or the difference in needs, you think, from like an agency versus going to a consumer? And again, a consumer in this case would probably be a brand or a site builder, or, so it's still a business, but, an end user versus an agency, which is almost acting as that middleman.
Yeah, so I think the main difference is like an end user or a brand, they're mainly looking for results. They're mainly looking for outcomes. And by that, I mean, they don't want to buy links because of the links. They want to buy links to get higher rankings, ROI, revenue increase. They're looking for, a full service mainly. I'd say that they shouldn't even be buying links if that's what they're looking for. Whereas an SEO agency, they've got the bigger picture. They've got the landscape of the whole campaign. They've set the strategy, and links are just part of it. Links are probably 20% of their whole strategy. They're just using a provider to deliver those links. With an agency, I think the highest leverage point is strategy. Anyone can do the backlinks, anyone can do the content. And I say that as a backlink provider, I'm saying, like, it is almost a commodity. As long as you set the criteria, you can outsource that. And as long as it comes back, fine. That's not the highest leverage point. The value is in the strategy. So, yeah, we think that the main difference would be just the fact that one wants deliverables, one wants outcomes.
I'm going to give you, I want to unpack this for just a second so that everybody listening can try to apply this to their business, because you're making it sound very simple, which is exactly what you should be doing. But I want everyone to try to understand more in depth what you're talking about. And you're really, it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, and then expand on it. But you're talking about like identifying some of the biggest friction points in a business. And for you, that consulting side of having to consult a brand on the strategy, and you've removed one of the biggest pain points for you, which is that consulting, productized your business, and then targeted the right client so you don't have to go after the biggest pain point. And in many ways, while you're doing that as an agency that provides links and content, that could apply to anyone. That could apply to any business, a cleaning business, Talk through how to think about things like that if you can, and from a higher level, just so people who are running a cleaning business, who are running an e-commerce business, who are even trying to grow something in the online space can really try to apply that to their line of work.
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to think about it is it's like what you said earlier, it's removing nuance as much as possible. taking something really complex and ambiguous and trying to think about it in components, trying to think about it in individual stages. And what are the ways you can remove that nuance? What are the ways you can kind of avoid the back and forth? Because I think, especially in today's day and age, people just want to go online, choose what they want, press go, whether that's a service or a product. You know, the e-commerce guys got this right. You know, you just go online and you pick a product and it comes to your door. The service people are still out there picking up a phone going, what do you want? Okay, we'll send you a quote. Next day, here's the quote. Can we have it a bit cheaper? Okay, maybe. And it's like this back and forth, ambiguous process where if you flip the script and you say, right, whatever service you're doing, don't take any more custom orders, don't take any more meetings, phone calls, detail an offer, detail a product if you like. It's a service, but it's productized. And then put that, you know, on a website or some kind of web app or form and just take the inputs from the customer. And like you say, with a cleaning business, you know, there are very easy to identify variables with that you don't need to go around someone's house to give a quote. You don't need to go around someone's house and ask all these questions. You can just say, how many rooms? What's the square meter? Do you want the window cleaning too? Do you want the carpets cleaning too? You know, all these add-ons. And then the price can just be automatically configured, and then they order it and book a date, go around. I think that's like the best way to think about it, the friction. Another example is my girlfriend's actually a Spanish tutor, and all her competitors were kind of like doing this thing where the clients would choose a date and then they'd have to do a weekly lesson on the same date every week, and they'd sometimes change it, and it would be awkward back and forth emails. Whereas, you know, I told her to basically put a calendar on a website and students can buy credits and book whenever they want. So it removed that ambiguity, the friction. It's just noticing those points, the hard parts in business, and thinking, how can I use the internet, you know, which we all know and which we all know how to use, and forms are pretty easy to set up these days. How can I use just an online form to remove this ambiguity?
Let's talk about some of the other things that you've seen value that has come from this productization when it comes to clients. I mean, I have in my notes, for example, the ability to sell an experience and convenient over just SEO. I've got a bunch of those stuff. Like, maybe let's kind of start drilling into some of these individual things you've seen give you really tangible benefit.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, like for us, like, and I'll openly say, like, link building is kind of a commodity. So link building can be done by someone on Upwork, Fiverr. There's a million different vendors. It's like, why would you choose one over the other? And for us, like, our product really isn't the link building or the content or what we deliver. Our product is the dashboard that we deliver it in, because it's making it super easy for customers to come on. They can choose the product they want. They can choose the quantities, customize their order. They get it back in a nice report. They can export that report and easily send it to clients. So it's just thinking about what our highest leverage point is the dashboard. So we need to really focus on that. That's why we've got, you know, a team of 4 or 5 developers, always constantly working on that, improving it. And I think when you've got a service like that, like ourselves, you have got to find your USP. And I think we found ours in our system, the way we deliver it.
It's interesting to talk about, because your service isn't a dashboard, you know,
no.
Like you said,
yeah.
Your service is something, but you've identified that it can be a bit commoditized. Almost everything nowadays could kind of fit into the commoditization of some sort, like just with the way that we have the access to everything at our fingertips now, like almost everything can be commoditized. How did you land on your dashboard being such a unique service offering, something that's really specialized for you? Because I would not think, okay, Fat Joe, like, you know, something that really that's their true value as a dashboard. Like, how does somebody go about figuring that out?
So yeah, again, like a lot of things, we kind of stumbled into it. But when we started building it, we realized, like, this is actually like a really nice feature for agencies and for marketing teams. We built in collaboration features, and agencies were kind of commenting on, how good it was for them to run their agency deliverables through this dashboard. So we kind of like doubled down on that. We realised that about 5 years in that, hang on, we're not a service business. We're almost a software business. We service as a software. So we're an inverse SaaS. So we're a software business first, and we deliver services through it. Almost a cross between a marketplace, a SaaS, an e-com store. We're like this cross between all those things. So yeah, landing on it became a bit of a journey for us. But I think as companies do, they evolve, and you kind of discover these things. It takes a long time, but you sometimes have these eureka moments, and you go, we're not a link building company. We're a software company. Or you go, we're a dashboard company, or you come to these realizations, or we're a marketplace. So I think it's just about discovering who you are as a company and letting that unfold naturally, and letting your customers tell you these things as well.
Well, that we could make an entire podcast, I feel like, about that alone right there. That's really fascinating to think of you as a, like you said, a dashboard or a marketplace rather than what it seems like when you go to your website you are. Customer experience, customer service, like how big of a component is that for you guys? What's your approach to that? At many ways, it's like go on, press a button, make an order. Is it a big part of what you do? Do you find that that's burdensome to you guys as a company, or how do you approach that?
It's huge for us because we really make an effort to be the best customer support team. We just want to be the best at doing that. The reason being is obviously things can happen in link building, things can happen in content writing, mistakes can happen. Sometimes customers can be misaligned on the expectations. One thing we can always control is our customer support, because they're in-house. We've got, a team of 5 people running customer support. They're answering support tickets within a couple of hours. They work all around the clock, different teams, obviously. But yeah, we make an effort to really try and make that the best it can possibly be, because that's one thing in our control. And, any unhappy customers, anyone who needs something fixing, we try and fix it immediately, or we give a refund straight away, no questions asked. And we think that's super important, because the long term of unhappy customers is, it's detrimental. We just think a bad review is so detrimental. An unhappy customer just telling someone else about the bad experience is detrimental for us. Yet, conversely, good experiences get shared, good experiences get, shouted about online. So we think it's a big thing. We think it's super important to have that perfect. Yeah.
Let's talk for a little bit about how you've grown the agency. We haven't really talked about that yet. It was like, hey, we started the company in 2012, and here we are. It's 2025, and we have this many million in revenue. Like, how have you gone about growing the company? I'm sure many things you've already talked about: customer service, referrals, agencies. But how have you? What have been the levers you've pulled? What are the ones you've seen work? What are maybe some that you haven't seen work as well as you wanted, or some that have kind of not gone as well?
Yeah. So when we started, we were focused mainly on UK. So that gave us a little bit of a leg up, because UK is a smaller market. We were targeting them directly, so we were ranking for stuff really easy, like UK link building, UK content writers, that kind of thing. There's a few UK forums we were participating in, and we were sharing our service. That gave us a really good head start. But when we started running ads, that's when we could really see the scale of things. We basically built a machine where we put in £1 and we were getting £5 back with the ads, especially to begin with. Because like I say, the UK link building market was very, very niche, so we had hardly any competition. We then decided to scale and be, worldwide. We were in a battle to get the fatjoe.com domain. So some Chinese domainer was sitting on the domain for years, waiting for the wrapper to get it. But the wrapper didn't want to pay for it, so we ended up paying a fair bit of money for it. But I think it was super important for us to have this domain, because, our name is pretty memorable, which I'm happy about. But without the .com, I think you just can't take us seriously. So we had that, and I think that's when things really started coming together. We were running ads, more ads on that. We started social ads. And then I think this is like quite an ambiguous thing to say, but I just think branding was a key part as well, just doing real world expos, doing marketing stunts. So if it's Valentine's Day, we were sending 2 people to Paris, 2 link build people who were buying links to Paris. We were doing funny things at Christmas, April Fool's Day, just like making a noise on social media, which link building companies don't generally do. They're very selling links and talking about DR, talking about algorithms. We didn't want to talk about any of that. We were just talking about our brand and trying to be funny and trying to be memorable. So I think that was a big key part of it. But Google ads was really good. Facebook ads was really good. Those were really scaling predictably and consistently for us.
It's funny on that. I've told this story before on the podcast, but my first business was a photography studio. And it was really funny because we found, photography job. I had a couple photographers, and, your photography jobs are always all hours of the day, random, weekends, during the day, during the week, nights, all that kind of stuff. So we started making a practice of always going together to lunch on Wednesday every week. Naturally, we're photographers, so we'd bring our cameras and we ended up taking some pictures. And one day we threw them up on our blog on a Friday. A couple of clients were like, "Oh, I saw you guys all went to lunch. That was a really cool place. I've never been there before," something like that. Anyways, long story short, this became the thing that drove most of the traffic to our website years later. Everybody was waiting to see where we were going to go for lunch, turned into a kind of quasi-restaurant review. It was the quirky thing that ended up getting people talking about the photography service that was pretty standardized and almost, like you said, in many ways commoditized. So it's interesting to hear you talk about some of those things, because I'm like, oh my goodness, we landed on that totally by accident. So
yeah, most of the best things are by accident, aren't they?
Yeah. So yeah. Let's talk about ads. So you kind of piqued my interest when you said we're putting in $1 and getting $5 out, but like, what's been the ad strategy? Talk about that for growing the business. I think a lot of people listening to the podcast know about ads, but maybe haven't tried ads for their specific business offering.
Yeah. So for us, we were very much focused on Google ads to begin with, because, and I'll say this to a lot of business owners, because they try Facebook ads, it don't work. Facebook ads are cheaper, but the thing is, you are interrupting people while they're looking at cats and bikinis and whatever they're looking at on Instagram and Facebook. You're interrupting people with something they might be interested in, but they might not be interested at that time. It's very, very difficult, and you need a completely different strategy, I think, with interrupted advertising. With Google ads, you are doing invited advertising, because they're searching for the thing and you're popping an ad up saying, "Hey, you just search for this, we do this." So it's very logical. You can show them a page which gives them exactly what they're searching for with the keyword they were searching for. So for us, if they were searching UK link building, it was very easy for us to sell them on that, because we're saying, look, we're doing UK link building, we're getting you UK domains. This is the price, you can buy it online. It was very easy for us. There was no phone calls, there was no meetings being scheduled. There's no ambiguity, no nuance. This is how much it costs. This is when you're going to get it. That's it. So, yeah, running the ads on Google ads to begin with, I think, is a nice way to scale. It's a little bit more expensive than Facebook ads. Well, a lot more, depending on the industry. But yeah, that's a very good way of kind of getting that early traction. When you move to Facebook ads, you've got to be a little bit more clever with it, because if you go in there trying to sell something, it's very difficult to catch someone when they're ready to buy. They might click on it and save it for later, if you're lucky. If it's really super low cost, you might get an impulse buy. But the best thing to do with Facebook ads is have some kind of funnel. Now, it took us a long time to realize this, and we tried many different ways of running ads on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, we have some kind of ebook funnel. We've got multiple variations now, but if you've got an ebook which is related, I say ebook, it's a bit old-fashioned. You can have like a webinar or masterclass that's kind of related to the problem that your ICP is having for free, obviously. You can catch their email address, send them an automation over the next, month or 2 months. At some point, they might buy. And it's it's a lot cheaper to do it that way. If you get the funnel right, it's a lot cheaper to do it that way and scale it. But yeah, to begin with, if you're not that experienced with ads, it's a lot easier to just do it with Google Ads.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get hung up on that, but you're exactly right. Like this idea of going to Facebook because it is cheaper, and it can be significantly cheaper in some industries, because you're targeting the general masses. But if they're there to if they're there to unwind at the end of their night by looking at funny cat pictures, and you're trying to sell your link building service, it doesn't have the same approach as somebody who's going to Google, typing in "I need this," and then you're appearing at the top.
Yeah, exactly that.
Anything else that has helped with growth? Again, just trying to speak to people listening and giving them ideas for things to try, or anything that, hasn't worked as well that you did try, you thought was going to be a game changer and maybe didn't turn out quite the way that you thought it would be.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do a lot of stuff now. We've got the liberty of trying a lot of things now. And we've changed the way we look at marketing. We used to try and measure every penny that we spend and attribute it to, a sale or to some kind of ROI. Now we just have a marketing budget and we try and spend it, and we just try and hope we make more than what we spent, and that allows us to do things like expos. We go and put a stand at an expo, like Chiang Mai SEO and Brighton SEO. We do that. We don't know what the ROI is. We haven't got a clue. We try. We use like domains, different URLs, try and track it. On paper, it doesn't look as if we make any money on it. We're doing things like sponsoring emails and doing that kind of thing. Now we take the stance of, let's just try and be everywhere all the time. Anywhere that our market is, let's just try and be there. Here's our budget. Let's just try and spend it the best we can. Let's be sensible, but we've just got to be there. So we're always on the tip of the tongue. Things that didn't work, it's hard to say really. Being an SEO company, we do put a lot of effort into ranking our own pages and ranking, our page for link building services and guest posting services, content writing services. We see more return from the ad side and from Facebook ad side. So that's something that we kind of want to push more into. I don't think we've fully pushed it as far as we could. And like I said earlier, maybe doing the expos too early is probably not a good idea because the return on investment isn't obvious. But yeah, in terms of growth, I think the ads were a game changer.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you calling out like, hey, a lot of this other stuff that is done, it's really difficult to put a specific ROI tag on it. Because I think a lot of us have gone through that. We're like, oh man, maybe I can grow my business by sponsoring that email. I know it's an email I read every week. I like it. And then you're like, I don't really know if I got much out of it. So it can be hard to attach that to it. And just kind of hearing you give yourself the permission to take a higher level approach to it is a bit freeing. I feel like if you're trying to figure out what to do with your marketing budget.
Yeah, it's nicer to do that. And you can sort of still measure it because you can just take your overall marketing cost divided by the amount of new customers you've got. And that gives you your kind of CPA. And if that's nice and low and lower than what their lifetime value is, just keep going and just make sensible bets. And I think it's easy for me to say that at this stage. And when you're just starting out, you haven't got that liberty to kind of experiment and run a $5,000 expo or run an ad in an email if you don't know the ROI. But at some point, I think you've got to take those risks. I think once you've got a little bit of capital, I think it's good to take those risks.
Well, Joe, this has been really interesting. I think from a number of levels, I think people listening are going to hopefully get a lot out of how you set up your company so that you don't have a team of hundreds, you have a team of tens, right? And I think a lot of the stuff that you talked about is really intriguing, and this can apply to anyone and how they grow their business, but also just how I love the productized conversation and how it made it so much easier for you to sell, how it made your target market so much clearer, how it made it easier for you to run ads to that, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of value here. Thanks for coming on board. Obviously, we've talked about it. Your company is Fat Joe, but maybe talk just really briefly about where people can go to learn more You have a lot of educational stuff, by the way. I didn't even get to talk about it. You have a whole section up there at the top called Academy, and I was kind of looking through some of your videos and stuff. But who are you best for? Where can people go to learn more about what you offer?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on Twitter, or X as they call it these days, Fat Joe Davies, or on LinkedIn, Joe Davies on there. I do have a free community for agency owners. So if you're looking to start an agency or scale an agency or productize it, niche down to a particular niche, we talk about that in our community, which is called Scalers, scalers.so. And that's completely free to join there. And yeah, that's about it. And fatjoe.com.
Awesome. Hey, Joe, thanks so much. Hope to talk to you again soon. Good luck with 2025 and beyond with your business. And thanks for coming on and sharing so much.
Nice one. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. I just wanted to remind you that if you are ready to start building smarter, faster, and easier internal links, you should check out Link Whisper. You can get $15 off Link Whisper when you use the coupon code podcast at checkout. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use the code podcast in order to save $15. Thanks again for listening.